Hey guys, good morning everybody. As you know, we're bringing this series here to help not only business owners out there, but to help everyone else through this period. And I'm very fortunate to have a very, very special guest here. I would like to consider him a friend of mine as well. We have similar values in both life, business, and family is key to the both of us. And guys, this guy is also a physio. Yeah. He's also a I'll start again. Health researcher for HMRI. Guys, please welcome Connor Gleadhill.
Good day, mate. How you doing?
Mate, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you. I hope I've done you justice there. I know it's a quick intro, but everything I said is true, especially how we really do connect with each other. And
Absolutely.
your friend. Mate, I've given you the brief version, everyone the brief version. Can you just explain more or tell us more about yourself and what you do?
Oh, fantastic. Well, yes, thank you. Thank you for having me on, Quang. I'm excited, and I think what you're doing at the moment for business owners is really needed, and particularly in your position, you know, as you're guiding and coaching so many people that are going through this unprecedented time. So who I am is, it's a long story, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I'm Connor, I'm a physio and a researcher, and I'm Irish originally. And where I am at the moment is I work clinically in my own business, like let's say 1 day a week at the moment. So my majority role is I'm a researcher through Hunter New England Health and HMRI. And so my research is in pain and health systems. And so there is a lot about this moment in time that has been, you know, I guess really related to how people experience health, and definitely people's pain. And if people have pain for a long time, this moment in time can definitely impact on them. And I think we'll talk about this stuff, but you know, there are some really simple things that you can do at this moment in time to have experience better health and to, you know, start the process of building good habits.
Yeah,
which you need as a business owner.
yeah. Thanks, Connor. And I just want to reiterate to everyone here that what we're speaking about is just general general advice or just general tips and strategies. It's, you know, you need to you need to go to public health and the right channels to seek the official information. But we're just sharing our expertise and our insights into how you can make the most of this situation, but also to help you gear up to take advantage or to gear up to be ready for what comes your way when this is finally over. So in saying all of that, as you know, Connor, and we've talked about it just before that, there is a lot of misinformation out there about COVID or coronavirus as it is. But in essence, are you able to explain to us, like, what is it and why is it such a scary thing? Because we don't see like a shutdown or restrictions put in place in regards to influenza.
Yeah, it's a great question, and maybe my caveat here, Quang, is I'm not a public health expert. I am a physiotherapist. I do work in the population health unit, and I've been working in the health protection team, who kind of handle one side of the local health system's response to things. But so with all of that, just as a preface, you know, I'm not the foremost authority on this, but there are some there's some good places to go to get this stuff, and we'll chat about those. But so why it's such a big issue is that a virus is a foreign entity that the body has a big response with, and so the main thing about the coronavirus, it's a virus that no one's ever seen before. So it's, you know, its kind of name is the novel coronavirus. So it's new. It's not being experienced by any human, And so this is really important because it's very different to the flu. So normal influenza, there are strains that have been around for years and years and years. And so most people out there have a built up response to that. And so the main reason why coronavirus is such a big issue is it's new, and we have a big risk as individuals when we contract it that we're going to get really sick. And one of the other things behind it being new is that we also don't have any cure for it. There's no treatment. So that's a big one. And if we've got a virus, and there are a lot of viruses out there that people might have heard of that we've got cures for. So polio is one. It's really infectious and can cause horrible things, but it's not a big issue because we've got a cure. So I think the second big thing that's caused this massive response with coronavirus is that it's got the perfect combination of, I guess, its severity and its infectious rate. So it's slightly more infectious than flu, which, the common flu is actually pretty infectious. So you might infect kind of 2 people when you have the flu and you've got symptoms. But coronavirus is slightly more infectious than that. So you might infect up to 4 people when you've got it. And so when you extrapolate these numbers, when you build out these numbers, it ends up being a really big deal because on day 1, you've got 1 person. Day 2, you've got 4 people. Day 3, you've got 16 people. And then it's an exponential growth from there. So rapidly it infects a lot of people. So that's half of, I guess the second part as to why it's a big deal. The other half is that it's severe and it's been kind of killing not a lot of people, which has been a bit of a source of misinformation. That people kind of go, oh, it's not that severe. It's not killing everyone it comes in contact with. But that's actually the reason why it's such a big deal, because you can transmit it really far and wide without being that sick yourself. And then it might with all of this big spread, it actually has a severe enough tip that it kind of kills just enough people, or it makes just enough people really sick for it to kind of just keep spreading. Mate, it's perfect. You couldn't make this virus up because it's got the perfect combination of things that has made it such a big deal and has made this massive reaction.
Mate, I appreciate you sharing your, I guess, breaking it down there to explain why it's such a big concern for, I guess, the world at the moment. I know personally, you can find information on this through every channel. I mean, even Netflix have a documentary on coronavirus now. So which is unreal. With your I guess health background, what are some of if you could just list some of the official channels that people should be getting their information from, so they're it's not misdirected or misinformed in any capacity.
Yeah, perfect. So you need to check your sources when you're getting information, especially now because it's panic is so rife, and it's so easy to prey on people's want and need for information. So always go to the official sources, and the best ones here, if you live in Newcastle and New South Wales, would be the local health district. So either Hunter New England Health or New South Wales Health. So that's probably number 1. And number 2 is then the government, okay? And then number 3 would be WHO, so the World Health Organization. If you kind of follow, just always seek out information from those sources. you're on a good track.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that, guys. So definitely make sure you get your information from those channels, just to make sure you have, I guess, the information from the official lines, and official sources out there. Being, you mentioned that you predominantly a researcher now, but you still in your business part time and predominantly working in that previously. What's the observation or the impact that you've observed of this on the health industry in general?
The industry, in my industry, it's been significant, and I think what it has really forced, number one, it has impacted people's bottom line, and I think that's that's been a big hit. And so people aren't moving around as much in terms of they're not able to get to appointments, and for me as a physiotherapist, a lot of businesses, of my friends and physiotherapy businesses, or even kind of allied health businesses that rely on people making appointments, they're just not happening. And so, my heart really goes out to people that have been really impacted. There's been, lots of stand down of staff or drastically reduced hours, and people's bottom line has been really impacted. And I think, though, as the Australian response has kind of evolved and been quite successful, now that's somewhat picked up in terms of people making appointments again, people happy to come in. One of the other sides to this impact has been it's really forced people to do things differently, which I think is a fantastic thing. So people have been forced as business owners to look at different ways of helping people. And maybe this is a good example, Quang, what we're doing right now. People have been putting stuff out there for just information for people to just digest and to help, And I think health professionals have been doing some of this, but now it's pretty clear that we have to do more of it. And the coronavirus has kind of forced that for many health professionals, which is good. I think it's a great thing to get reputable information.
And I think just sharing, this is my insight and just purely my opinion, but the health industry is kind of an industry that's sat in the comfort zone for so long, because people will always have to go to appointments, people will always have to do this, but it was only until something like this came along to force the innovation. So an example was like Tele-Health. We all hear about it. Apparently, it was available before this as well, but no one talked about it. And it could have been a good way to combine, not combine, but to help people adapt or understand the benefits of, conferencing or having a health appointment over a conference type style, instead of, but because people haven't been exposed to it, there's that mindset of going, I prefer to see my doctor in person so that they can touch me and feel me and, get a real grasp on it. Whereas you could, and from speaking to other health professionals, you could, not probably, I don't know how accurate it would be, but, you could give a pretty good diagnosis on what needs to be done, or perhaps even tweak some training or rehab, through this medium instead of seeing face to face as you would normally.
It's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate, Quang. So I've just done actually a masterclass for a different online kind of evidence-based dissemination company around this stuff, because I've been really interested in this word Tele-Health for a long time, and in my previous businesses I've really incorporated this in everything I do, and as an early adopter. And I think, as you said, many health professionals are just in the comfort zone. And what we're doing, what we were doing before coronavirus is what we were doing hundreds of years ago, and it doesn't make sense, because people
Yeah.
that need health advice and health care, we live our lives in a different way to hundreds of years ago, and we need to start to meet people where they're at. And so there's some good science around. It's actually, as a physio, you can definitely diagnose as well as face to face as you would online. So that's an easy tick, right?
Yeah.
And definitely medically, this is an important one, that I think what you touched on. There's a couple of things. What this forced innovation has done has forced the hand of health professionals and medical professionals to actually really meet people where they're at, which is number one. That's a good step. But the second thing this has done is actually, as you alluded to there, Quang, is educate people that need healthcare that they can actually access. They can access it in a different way, and it changes their relationship with their health in time. So I think this is an important one. Maybe it's a slow nudging process here, but it just lets people say, if you're in pain, it lets you know that you can do something about it by just having a video consult with someone, and you don't need to go in and you don't need to go in face to face and get a rub down or get fixed, because right now, number one, you can't. But the second thing to that is it actually kind of opens and changes that relationship to it being something that's much more empowering and based on the changes you can make as an individual.
It's so, I don't know if reassuring is the right word, but to hear that you can give a really accurate diagnosis over this like video conferencing, or it's, to me, it's a no-brainer to be able to support someone from the comfort of their own home without having to add extra pain to them to come to your venue. To me, it's a no-brainer. But I guess it's not just that particular. It's the whole bubble that comes with it that we need to break down and rebuild to make it more, I guess, acceptable or common practice in society as well.
Yeah, I think what this time in life, the coronavirus time, COVID time, might do is it just lets people know that there are different options out there, and that's health professionals and people that need healthcare. It doesn't have to be this, archaic model that we've lived with for hundreds of years. And you can always go in if you want, but you can also just access good information online or, with an online video consult. It's just a different way of doing things. And I think that's important for the patient.
Yeah. Looking forward a little bit, touching on with your both your business and your health experience, outside of telehealth, what do you think will be the biggest shift in the health industry?
Yeah, I think what this has done is it's number one, forced the hand of kind of government and governmental bodies to actually create a billing code for telehealth. Crazy up until now that there hasn't been one. So I do think that in itself makes these online consultations more commonplace. So that's going to help. I think what this might do long term is it might make business owners really think about innovation in a different way. So and business owners by nature are innovative people, but I do think it has forced some of the people that are maybe least willing to innovate to do it, which kind of makes maybe just brings up this base level for everyone in health businesses to go, we've got to do things differently, and we've got to be willing to adapt and test on the fly, which is a good thing for healthcare and the health industry.
Hey, so good to hear that. And I'll just add to that a little bit because most people who go into business aren't, as you said, they're not really business people, but they go on because they think they can be, but they're really good at what they do. So,
Yeah.
so they could be great physios, could be great podiatrists, but aren't that great business people. But because
Yeah.
of this, they're being forced to. It's a really good, the way I say it, it's a really good litmus test to know what you actually want and what you're really good at. So if you're happy just being the rehab expert, or or the masseuse, then you can do that without the actual business um, thinking behind it as well. So
Yeah.
it will give everyone a bit more clarity in knowing what they actually want to do. I think personally
What they
myself,
want.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. We also spoke about this before, but how we're not allowed to go out and we're kind of restricted. People are actually making health a focus,
Yeah.
which is great. Um, what's been your observation in the research world there around health, or even in general?
There's a potential for this to the COVID time to really have a significant impact on people's health,
Mm.
in a negative way. But what I think, and this is anecdotal, right? So far we haven't seen data on this, but you and I just spoke about it. It's funny, we've seen this almost the real explosion of people getting outdoors and enjoying some things that previously they might not have had time to enjoy.
Mm.
And so there's maybe the potential for it to be very negative for people, but testament to the human resolve.
Yes.
People have really responded and are starting to maybe just really engage in some of the simple habits to help your health and well-being. And
Yeah.
simple as getting out and doing a bit more walking, and just slowing down
Mm.
and enjoying your space and time with your family.
Yeah.
And all of these things really help your mental well-being. So um, yeah, it's interesting. They've funneled so much money into mental health services, and they should.
Yeah.
So again, this is maybe something they funneled all this money that should have been funneled into mental health services previously,
Yes.
and so that's a good thing. It's a big tick. But on the flip side of that is because people have realised they've got some time and they can use time to just do simple good things. We might, that all that money might not be needed, or there might not be the rush on mental health services that people think,
Yeah.
which is an awesome thing. Yeah.
Definitely, most definitely. I'll share a quick story before we go on to the mental and whole well-being. But
Mm.
so I stand up paddleboard, and so
Ah,
I've still been going out there on the water. And I
yeah.
think last weekend it was a combination of the warm weather, the right swell, being not allowed to go out. I've never
Yeah.
seen so many beginning surfers in my life. It seemed like everyone was out there learning how to surf, which was unreal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head before, because and I think one of the reasons why we connect is because we believe not just in the physical health, but the whole mental physical health connection there,
Yeah.
the holistic approach.
Mm.
And yes, we talked about being more physically active,
Mm.
but if you could just shed some light on how being physically well affects our mental capacity or our mental well-being as well.
Yeah. I love this, and so I think we as humans we get stuck into this real dualistic. So by that I mean, we split things into two, and we kind of
Mm.
we separate our bodily health from our mental health.
Yeah.
And in reality, they're one in the same. They're intrinsically linked. They can't be separated. And so I think what we get out of this time is that people actually hopefully have a good awareness of their mental well-being and how that impacts on their physical feeling and their physical health, and maybe then vice versa. So I think if you're getting out and you're moving more, which again we've seen a little, we've seen people do this, but we probably need data to show that it's actually been a real trend. But, when you're getting out and you're moving more, you are feeling better mood-wise. And so for me, for my wheelhouse, this is incredibly important for pain, because pain is largely dictated by people really think it's in the body, and it is in the body, but you've got a big central controller in your brain, and really when you experience pain, it's dictated by your mood and how you're feeling, as much as how your body is doing. So a lot of my job is just making people aware of this link, and not telling people that, sorry pal, your pain's not real, it's all in your head. It's just saying that, look, the way you're feeling at the moment, your mood, your anxiety, the stuff that's going on, that has an impact, and it's a very important impact. And any good switched on person that's talking about health and well-being will give you the same message. It's just that I think health professionals, we've got stuck into dealing with people's bodies, and we haven't quite figured out how to explain this link to people very well. And I think when people are in pain, it's actually quite hard to explain it, because they're quite fixed into thinking about one body part. So getting slightly away from your question there, Quang, so making it more related to my wheelhouse, but definitely the two are intrinsically linked. And this time, COVID time, has been hopefully transformative for people to realize that, they are linked.
And mate, it's so true what you said there. And I think, just to add on, it's because the physical body, we can see, we can touch it, but when you talk about mental well-being, or when we say that, it's all in the head, that's just to many people, it's just an abstract concept. You can't touch it, you can't feel it. So how can you fix something you can't touch and you can't feel? The best way, and part of what I do with my work, is I always start with the physical, because it gives them a starting point, and then we can delve, progress into the thinking behind it and all that kind of stuff. But with in regards to the physical health, what are some, I know we should move, but what are some basic guidelines, or just some principles that we should try to adhere to or follow to maintain our physical well-being?
Yeah, nice. So I've got a personal story around this. That's maybe a nice way to explain this, in that we all know we should move more. So that's not news for anyone, and definitely in this COVID time, we've all been forced to just maybe even just slightly change the way we move. And for some people, we're stuck at home more, so we don't have that time that we might normally have. For me, so we'll go into my story now. So for me, I don't have that time where I can go to the gym, and I enjoy that side of things. So I've been feeling more pain, more joint pain, more, my mood hasn't been as good. But one of the simple rules of thumb is that one of the things that the gym does for me is it makes me work really hard for a certain amount of time. And so the rule of thumb here is that we all know we need to move, but one thing we don't do very often is we need to take that time to just, it might only be 10 minutes to actually move harder and actually work pretty hard. That has so many more benefits for our health over just saying, well, this is important, don't get me wrong, like I got up and I got up from my seat. That's real base level. But I think one thing that if I had a strong recommendation for people is, remember that's one side to it. It's just moving more. Easy to say, hard to do, granted. But the other side to it is actually just try to move vigorously.
Yeah.
And that tends to have more of these mood benefits over, others. And I think that's important in this time.
Yeah.
So maybe the simple rule of thumb is, yes, you need to move more,
Yep.
but maybe don't be too hard on yourself in this time during
Yeah.
COVID, because that's actually quite hard.
Yes.
Maybe a lower hanging fruit to that is just take 10 minutes and just move really hard and just do
Yeah.
something vigorously. So for me, it was like, I have a dice that has different exercises on it. So I would just roll that dice 10 times and do 20 reps of one exercise.
Yeah.
And that was my 10 minutes of like hard movement. It's simple stuff.
So simple. Yeah. Speaking of those dice, when I was at kickboxing, we had one of those, and that was a warm up dice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally get what you said. It's that physical exertion that really promotes growth in health and fitness and strength. And what I was doing previously in the last month, I was setting myself a 100 burpee challenge every day, 100 burpees every day for a month. So
Yeah.
only taking 15 minutes, but it's that physical exertion where you go above and beyond. But then there's also that sense of, when you complete that sense of satisfaction that, yep, I've done my thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's the loop that we need to, for most people to close, because we can walk around, but in our mind we haven't really actually exercised, if that makes sense. So we need that to tick our mental list for the day. Yep, we've done our exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know that health is key, and what are some keys to forming these health habits that will last a lifetime, to make it not just a one-off COVID thing, but to actually, I'm looking after my health, I'm physically fit, and this is what I do. It's part of my life.
Yeah. This is a big one, Quang, and we could probably talk about this for hours and hours, because this is my job. Like, this is what I do with people, and maybe that's number one with all of this is, it's a really, really long process, and people think, health professionals really guilty of this, is just saying to people, just move more and lose some weight. Okay, see you later. Health dealt with. It's never that simple.
Yeah.
So these things are really hard. They're really complex, and I think maybe a couple of principles that I've been able to draw out for people is, number one, systems.
Yeah.
Business people are really good with systems, so you have to be really good with your systems.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, you're a slave to your physiology, and so you build your systems first around the habits that you want to achieve. So, like, simple, if you have a park on your way home, your system is, go that way home, or choose a way home from work that you go via the park, and you have a lower chance of not doing it.
Yes.
And maybe that leads into the second one, is that just remember that you are a slave to physiology, and these choices will always be really difficult. Habits do form after about 3 weeks. They say a habit's kind of formed. But that's the easy part, just forming a habit. The harder part is then actually maintaining it.
Yes.
And so what I'm saying is, this second part is, just remember, it is a long process. So pick off smaller things. And so don't go for the crazy habit first. Go for the much easier habit.
Yeah, most definitely, and just to put I guess utilizing the business skills I've learned along the way. It's all about goal setting. It's not your New Year's resolution, flash in the pan. I want to lose weight. You got to be strategic about it. So there's a couple of steps that I in regards to health, that I share. So one is, you set your target. You don't say, I want to lose 15 kilos. Say what you actually want to gain. You know,
Yeah.
I want to be 80 kilos. You know, so you have
Yeah.
to. Language is key. So you state what you actually want, but it has to be realistic. As you know, people get like over ambitious and as from influenced by a whole heap of different medias. But it has to be realistic, and you have to state it in how you actually want it. Deadline, you know, you have to set a timeline for this. You know, we work well to pressure. So there's got to be a date. I want to be 80 kilos by December 31st, you know, 2020. Again, on your theme about systems, you have to make a plan, you know?
Yeah.
What are you going to do daily or every second day, you know, for how long, what type of exercise? Because if you can plan it, it makes it more easier for you to visualize and to be able to see. And last one that was like a clincher for me was I have a 2-day rule, you know. So if I don't do it, I can only not do anything for 2 days, and then the third day I will have to do it. So it forces me to keep that habit going. So I may need a break. I may have had a bad day at work, but that's fine. But if I don't do it the next day, then the following day I have to do it. So I can't go 2 days without doing some sort of physical exercise.
Yeah. And maybe, you know, and then a nice follow on there, Quang, is momentum is a big thing. So choose these habits, make them attainable, make them realistic, give them a time frame, have your systems, but then remember that at the end of the day, the momentum that you can build from small things will follow over. So you know, the simple act of putting your shoes on, you're like, oh well, I've got my shoes on now, so I may as well get out of the door, get out the front door, and then I'm out the front door, so I may as well walk down the street. Oh well, I'm at the end of the street, so I may as well just start jogging a little bit. You know, momentum is a big thing. And then the last kind of thing that I remember to reinforce with people is don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't happen. Like, so the 2-day rule is a cool one, because what I would say to people is, you know, if you're coming to me after the second day, I would be saying to people, it's okay. Don't berate yourself, and just actually now take some momentum, small steps. Maybe you just do half of what you had planned. And at least that's something rather than nothing. Because I think people get into that, you know, they don't do it for a week and then it all blows up and then they stop.
You so hit the nail on the head. There's a couple of things that are the intention. People have the best intention, but so they may say I'm going to go running every day, but that day they've had a bad day and they're up late trying to fix up their work, and then so obviously the next morning they might be too tired to work, but because they've made that promise to themselves, they feel like they've let themselves down. What I encourage is perhaps work out the night before if you're going to be physically and mentally right to do that work the next day, so you don't let yourself down. So you actually give yourself permission to have that sleep in or whatever you need to do, so that you can so you can follow up the following day, you know. And I'll just share one quick story. So with the running thing that you said there, I used so I'm not a runner, you know, it hurts my knees, etc., etc. And then I bit the bullet and actually started running on the coldest day of the year about 3 years ago. But what I did was, to help reduce that barrier, I had my shoes and socks next to my bed. I had my running gear and I had my jumper. So all I had to do was just roll over, put my stuff on, and then get out. Because once you have your shoes on, that's it. So you have to find a way to reduce that barrier, or remove that friction, so that you can do what you want to do as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm conscious. I know that you're a busy person. Thank you for sharing your insights. We could talk about this all day.
Good.
Because we love this kind of stuff. If anyone had any questions and they wanted to reach out with you, what would be the best form of contact?
That's a great question. I'm on the socials, all of the medias. So it literally, if you just search for my name, Connor Gleadhill, on Facebook or Instagram, I'm on, and Twitter. you can reach me on there, and just reach out, because I'm really happy to have a chat to anyone about this stuff, because it's super important, and just a no bars, kind of no obligations chat is what I'm keen to help people with. So yeah.
Yeah, mate. I really appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll get to catch up in person, real time, real soon.
Yeah, we'll have to grab a coffee soon, mate. That'd be great. Yeah.
Most definitely, mate. Look, thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of your day, buddy.
You too. Thanks, Quang.